We're at South Carolina State University. Coach Buddy Pough has joined us here in the press box at Dawson Bulldog Stadium. And good afternoon to you, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Phil. How are you?
Man, we're doing great. And thank you for letting us come up here and barge in on your practice.
Well, thank you. We got a little practice going in another maybe 30 minutes or so, and we'll get after it a little bit. And got the State Agriculture Department coming to cut a few watermelons and that kind of stuff. So we're gonna have a good time.
Can I participate in that?
You may have all you got.
I bet you it's better than the watermelon I buy.
You know what? I bet you it is. These are really cold, and I think they pick out the sweetest ones in the state.
Seedless?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Every kind you can think of.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Now, two-a-days for you today. This is the second one. You're kind of old school. We don't see a lot of places doing two-a-days anymore.
Well, yeah, and the two-a-days we do aren't like the old two-a-days either. We go about 18 periods of practice, and a period's about 5 minutes. So you talk about an hour and a half, and we've got plenty of breaks, and they can get all the water they want and all that kind of stuff. Back in the old days, they wouldn't give any water, and you practice for hours and hours, and you went off and stayed for about 30 minutes, and you came back and practiced some more hours. So it's a little different now than it was.
I mean, and in fact, two-a-days back in the old days, as you're talking about, that was at the beginning of practice.
It was, and even now, you can't go two-a-days in a row. So if we went two today, then we can only go one tomorrow. So, you know, it's always 2-1, 2-1, and we only doing a week of them. As a matter of fact, this is the last one of those that we'll do in total today, and it's just been 3 days that we've done them. Yeah.
So how about the team? How far along are you at this stage of camp?
Good and bad. You know, we have our good days and bad days. But anytime you're in the spring, I mean in the preseason, the way you're going against each other, you never know when you're happy, because if the offense is doing pretty good and you're worried about the defense, and if the defense starts to stop the offense and they can't make much happen, then you start to worry about the offense. So, you know, it's one of those kind of things where they go one day good and we go one day good, and the next thing you know, we get pretty good special teams. But I'm excited about these guys. You know, they're working at it pretty hard, and, you know, we're looking forward to getting started in another couple of weeks.
Where are some of the hottest competitions for starting positions taking place?
We got a humdinger going at running back. We brought the Justin Taylor guy in last year from Kentucky, and he's a pretty good player. And he was our leading rusher last year, and our leading rusher the year before, Scoot Simmons, was out for the year. He had both of his shoulders done, and he's back now with a vengeance, trying to, you know, show that he's the guy. And you know, it's been fun to watch those guys go after it. And Scoot's been a little bit banged up the last couple of days, but he really has had a nice added a nice dimension to our team this year, because he's a go-get-it kind of guy, and he's a great character and all that kind of stuff. So we've enjoyed seeing him do that. And then, you know, we've got some pretty good defensive front guys, a lot of those guys too, which is always fun to watch, and those guys get after pretty good. So, you know, guys like our defensive tackles, Curtis Hill and Javon Hargrave, those guys seem to be really playing really well. And we got a couple guys here tonight, Andrew Carter and Alex Glover. They're both returning All-American defensive ends for us, and it's not very often that you have returning All-Americans in college football. And, you know, both those guys have played very, very well. And Carter really goes after it in a way where, you know, you enjoy watching him go after it. You know, he's a effort guy. You know, he's one of those high motor guys. He's going hard all the time, and we enjoy watching him play. And he's a little hard to deal with, you know, as far as trying to block from time to time. He's a little hard to deal with some of the other things he does, you know, from time to time. But he's a fun guy to have on the football team, and we enjoy having him.
Now, your defense, do you feel like your defense is kind of back where South Carolina State defense used to be with the kind of people you're talking about here?
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah. We've got a lot of shoes to fill, though, back in our backside of our defense. Our secondary is going to be almost totally new, and the best player that we had returning, Stephen Murphy, had knee surgery yesterday, and that's going to be a little bit of a concern, because we are going to be extremely young there. But we got a new defensive coordinator. Tommy Restivo was Charlie Strong's defensive secondary guy last year, and he's running our defense here this year, and having an enjoyable experience watching our guys, you know, develop and come along that way. And he's actually coaching our secondary, so he's got his work cut out for him, because he's replacing Mike Adams, who did a fantastic job on the defensive side, and he's also got to work with an almost totally new group there. So we got our work cut out on our defensive side that way. But with our up front group being as experienced as it is, we think that we've got to get those guys to play at a high enough level where they can take some of the pressure off our secondary by putting a lot of pressure on without having to do a lot of exotic kinds of things to get to the quarterback. And if we can, then at that point, you know, then I think we can make the transition a lot better for our young secondary.